cars depreciate. That is essentially a universal rule, but it's especially true for some of the higher end luxury premium brands. But out of everything, Maserati is one of those that seems to be the absolute worst in terms of depreciation. Now, if you're buying one of them new, that hurts, but if you are buying a used Maserati, that's good for you. And it brings us to this vehicle, the 2009 Maserati Quattroporte Sport GTS, which in my opinion is one of the most exotic four-door experiences you can have for $30,000. This here is the top tier iteration of the Quattroporte, which the name literally means four doors. It has four doors, an executive luxury performance sedan that really stood out in the pack compared to the Germans at the time. You had the S-Class, the A8, the 7 Series. This really goes up against like the Aston Martin Rapide, something that evokes the emotion. It has a very unique power plant and has obviously beautiful styling. In terms of the powertrain, this is the top tier GTS trim. So it has a 4.7 liter naturally aspirated V8. Many people, some owners like to claim it's a Ferrari V8, but it's not technically. It's more like Ferrari adjacent V8, but it is still a glorious naturally aspirated V8. It makes 440 horsepower and about 380 pound-feet of torque. It sounds great, it feels great, it revs out. I really do love the charisma of this naturally aspirated V8. All that power is sent to the rear wheels via a 6-speed automatic transmission. And as the top-tier GTS trim has some changes to the suspension, the tuning, it makes it the most sporty feeling of the Quattroportes. Now, in terms of the styling, that's one of the highlights. This was still designed with Pininfarina help, so you see the logo, the badge on the side, and I mean, this is aging so well. I still remember when this first came out, I'm like, wow, that looks really, really nice. And as a GTS trim, it has a couple unique touches. We have updated LED headlights, taillights. They have a bit of a darkened tint to it, and the Maserati badges everywhere. The Trident is iconic. I remember being a kid and drawing the Maserati logo because it just was so cool. Around back, we have the bigger oval exhaust tips, the 4.7 badge. This thing just looks so nice. Like the Aston Martin Rapide, it took styling to the next level. It would just stand out among the crowd of boring S-Classes, A8s, and the BMW 7 Series. The Quattroporte definitely looks so nice. And today, we're gonna take it for a review. That glorious V8 sound. All right, we are now on the road in the Quattroporte with the owner, Tim. We're doing the review, and because Tim is essentially a little encyclopedia on this car, we're changing up a little bit and putting him in the car with me.
Fair enough.
So, yes, we'll start off by talking about the interior. So obviously, as a 2009 and this generation of vehicle came out even before that, some aspects of it are going to be a bit dated. You cannot expect technology, but I'm actually pretty impressed. What?
Go straight.
Oh, go straight?
Just send it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm in fifth gear and there's no torque.
And there's no torque.
There's no torque.
Torque kind of starts at like 27.
Okay.
So
keep going straight. What was I saying? The interior technology, right? We do have a little digital screen in the middle, but we have analog tachometer and speedometer, which I like. I still love analog gauges. And my comment on technology is not a bad thing because it makes the car age more gracefully. If you look at some of these new cars, like a Mercedes EQS, in 15 years' time, I fear for that because the entire car is a screen. The Quattroporte inside, I mean, it's all nice leather. We got some carbon fiber. We got suede, cool patterns. We do have a updated this is aftermarket or just an updated
it's
OEM?
It's a factory wheel that I replaced the shitty old Alcantara wheel that was all dried up and destroyed.
So we got nice carbon fiber wheel here. We have fixed paddle shifters on the column. It's fairly spacious. Headroom is good. It's what you expect of a car of this level from this generation. The dash clock, that's always a nice touch on higher end luxury cars. And just a little Maserati Trident looking at you makes you feel fancier. And then you look on the above the glove box, the script for the name, the Quattroporte Sport GTS, is literally like half the width of the glove box. It's hilarious.
It's a long name.
It's
a long name. So.
And now this vehicle, in terms of the segment it sits in, this is a executive full-size luxury performance sedan. So against Mercedes S-Class, 7 Series, the Audi A8 of the generation, you can throw in the Aston Martin, the Rapide, What else do we have? The Porsche Panamera. So it's that type of thing. We were talking in the ownership video, the Top Gear video. You all remember that when they compared this, the hideous Panamera, the first generation, and of course the V12 Rapide. But listen to this. Oh, that's a stock exhaust. How do you feel about the interior? What are your thoughts?
I honestly love it. It's probably one of my favorite things about the car, to be honest. It's dated in a lot of ways, but it's funky in a way. It's just style. There's a purpose to the interior. It's a style, and they clearly just made it that way on purpose. They wanted it to look that way. It wasn't to, meet a financial goal with the company. They just wanted it to look that way. And to me, I love the style of it. I really do. And my favorite parts are this. This is technically not carbon fiber, even though it looks like it. It's called Titan Tex, and it's a titanium. Yeah, I know, crazy. It's a titanium fiber that mimics a carbon fiber.
But why? Like, I feel like carbon would have been just.
But that's the thing. That's why the wheel is a different shade.
Yeah,
than the rest,
I see that.
because
This
you
is
can't.
real.
Finding a Titan Tex wheel is like finding a Maserati over 100,000 miles. It's impossible.
There are aspects of it that feel very Italian. The random scattering of button placement and like things like that. You feel it, and that gives it that unique feel. Very, very different from the Germans of this generation.
Yes. So I actually want to show you this button real quick. That's the rear screen. Comes up in the back.
Ooh.
But it works, and it
does.
goes back down. It's
I like how it's
button
two
in the
individual
world.
buttons for that too. We have a lock and unlock button individual.
Well, here's a fun fact. See that button there with the car with the squiggly lines? What do you think that is?
Traction control.
It's not. That's ice mode.
I mean, I guess the graphic does make sense for that.
You can turn right here.
Yeah.
It cuts the power and puts you in a higher gear.
I see.
And and there's a van.
Hello,
so
minivan.
Rest in peace to our lateral grip test.
Yeah, that didn't work that well.
You'll have another chance.
I will say, driving already, the size of this vehicle, it masks it quite well, the size and weight. You said it's a 4,300 pound vehicle?
Correct.
And like I said, this was up against like S-Classes and 7 Series.
It definitely lacks the turbocharged punch,
Yes,
but it
but
has glorious sound.
Oh, and the downshifts.
For a torque converter, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. For a torque converter auto of this generation, look at that. So it has the emotion, and that's something that's hard to quantify, right? People focus so much on 0 to 60 times, quarter mile, the lateral grip, things like that. But with a high-end sports sedan, sports car, I think the emotion is something that I personally value. One of my favorite performance sedans and favorite BMW M cars is the E39 M5 because it was just so engaging. It was nimble. I love the manual with the 5-liter V8. And was the F10 faster and better in many ways? Yeah, but it lacked that excitement. The Aston Martin Rapide, I do remember driving that, and that V12 was special. And I think that's the closest parallel to this vehicle because it's something that doesn't prioritize the outright practicality, the German efficiency of things, right? It was more the emotion, the gorgeous styling. The Rapide has terrible practicality. Like, the back seats are unusable for anybody over 4.5 feet tall. The trunk wasn't that big. And, I mean, it just threw a giant V12 in a sedan. And
It's a red.
Oh, it is a red. Dang it. I was going to go through that.
6-piston front brakes on the GTS.
Yeah.
Speaking of that stuff.
Yep. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, no worries.
I was spieling.
It's well timed. I wanted to riff off of what you just said real quick because I saw the most psychotic comment I've ever seen on the internet.
Okay.
And it was someone wishing that there was an automatic transmission in an E39 M5. That was an unironic post. They're like, I wish I was there. And look, as stupid of an idea that is, I think this might be the closest thing you could get because it's high revving V8 and this is a torque converter and it's reactive in all the ways. And it's got that really important thing, which is one of the reasons I bought the car. It shrinks around you. It's 4,300 pounds and doesn't feel like it at all.
Literally, I got in the car the first like 3 turns, maybe 5 minutes driving. I'm like, this feels more akin to the M3-ish, M5 size than a 7 Series. It does not feel like a big wallowing land yacht, which those do. And that was the goal of them. It's not a criticism of those vehicles. Their job is executive luxury sedan, isolate you from the world. Yes, they made AMG and M versions or whatever of them, the Audi A8 and so forth, but there's only so much you can do with something of this size. But this... Oh, nice fresh smooth tarmac.
The grip levels are pretty crazy.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so... And this is stock exhaust.
Yeah. It is a very different exhaust than the Quattroporte S.
Yeah.
Mind you, it's hugely different.
I am genuinely quite impressed. In sport mode, the responses of this 6-speed automatic transmission, genuinely, I think that's one of my big takeaways. It obviously sounds amazing, and it drives well. It drives smaller than its size, something I did not expect going into the Quattroporte. I expected something more, a little bit more wallowy because it was an executive luxury sedan.
I also would have to say the Ghibli is just, to me, styling-wise, is not good.
No.
I think proportionally it's not great.
Yeah.
And then the Quattroporte 6, which came after this generation, is kind of like Ghibli 2 wheelbase Boogaloo, and it's like the same damn thing.
It's like squinty.
Yeah, it's the same car, but it's just bigger.
Yeah.
And the Quattroporte kind of lost its identity.
Yep.
This car was, as simple as it is to call something a four-door in Italian,
Yeah.
in the 60s, this was the only four-door car that could keep up with exotic sports cars.
In the
because in the 60s, because the
Oh,
Quattroporte came out in the 60s.
That was when a nameplate started, I see.
Correct. That's why they called it that, because it was the only one that could compete.
Gotcha.
So this car's identity, to
Yep.
me, ends with the Quattroporte 5.
I did drive the Trofeo, which threw the super powerful V8 twin turbo, and it was impressive, but I drove it and I was like, I'd rather E63 would be a better car to buy for the money and things like that, right? This, though, I think it's the engine, it's the NAVA. I do personally love naturally aspirated high revving engine, so that part of it, it brings the emotion, the sound, and man, in sport mode, definitely good.
Huge difference.
Yes, I tried auto. Tim had me try auto, and I'm not even going to go back to demonstrate because it was that bad. It like the throttle response dampened by like 40%.
It's
Terrible.
not reactive. The valve's closed. And what's
Yeah.
funny, and this is a real fact, this is in the bulletin, GTS is 440 horsepower. The Quattroporte S is 433. This car has the same power as the Quattroporte S with the valve closed. So it's simply an exhaust change that gets it that extra power.
Gotcha. Ooh, listen to that downshift on the force. For a stock exhaust, this sounds fantastic. I still think you should fiddle with it a little bit.
Maybe I want to keep the sound quality, but increase the volume maybe a little bit.
Okay.
The thing is, with the windows up in this car, it doesn't seem to be as loud because this is all dual pane glass.
Gotcha. So it's much
all
louder
around,
outside.
and you can feel the indents with your finger at the top of the glass.
Yeah.
When it rolls down, they literally just like put them together.
Gotcha.
And it's fantastic sound.
Yep.
The engine is
Got a little
stunning.
bit of purple. Yep.
It needs to be mentioned that the early Quattroportes have the 4.2 V8, and the facelift did come with a 4.2 V8 in the base car, but I swear to God, please avoid it like the plague. I don't care how cheap 4.2s are.
Yeah.
Please get a 4.7. It's way more responsive, way more power, way more torque, way better reliability. Avoid a 4.2. Just throwing that out there.
All right, consumer advice if you're shopping for one of these. Other things about the GTS Sport GTS that need to be mentioned: it does have fixed Bilstein dampers versus the Skyhook suspension, which I genuinely think it handles pretty well, and it still rides very well. It's firm for a full-size executive luxury sedan, but it handles itself well. And also, I think you said ownership costs would be cheaper because
considerably so.
What you said was like what, 10 grand for?
It's $2,000 a corner for Skyhook if it fails. That's parts and labor, so you're looking at almost 10 grand.
So that's good.
That grip level's pretty good.
You wouldn't be doing that in an S-Class of this generation. I think a way to sum up this is it's a full-size executive luxury sedan that you want to drive and not be driven in. A lot of times, if you get a really nice 7 Series or S-Class, you're more comfortable in the back seat. You want to be driven in that, right? But
exactly.
this, screw that. I want to drive this car.
Yeah.
Value-wise, brand new, MSRP $130,000, $140,000, but few things in the world, like I said, depreciate as hard as a Alfa Romeo. Few things in the world depreciate as hard, also Alfa Romeos, but as Maseratis and Aston Martins. So these could be found for between $25,000 to $35,000.
Yeah, roughly in that range. Higher miles are going to be lower in the 20s or maybe even the teens.
Yeah.
And that's for a GTS, and that's the one, guys, you want to get is the GTS. You get the great exhaust, you get the really cool interior trims, and you can get these trims in a Quattroporte S. But I'm telling you, I just drove a Quattroporte S.
Yeah.
Regular mode is how a Quattroporte S drives in sport mode.
Oof, okay, yeah, so they stepped it up a bit. I will say I think this is the most exotic four-door experience you can have for $30,000.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, you could cross-shop this against an E90 M3, which is obviously a completely different type of vehicle and class, but this is more unique.
100%.
And there is value in that, more prestigious. Hopefully yours stays more reliable.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's been good so far.
Good so far.
It's been, that's all you can hope for. All the electronics in this car are Bosch, so that's a good thing. It is.
Yeah, they know how to do things, yeah.
Yeah, they do. And then the other unfortunate issue is it's either Ferrari parts or Bosch parts. So, and there's, should we talk about servicing? Or should we already kind of talk
we
about
covered
that?
it in the other video, ownership. We get a lot more in depth with the different aspects of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
But just a brief touch on this car, I would say there's two issues with servicing and ownership. One of them is the cheap parts are labor intensive.
Yeah.
And the expensive parts have the cheap labor stuff has expensive parts.
All right, so it's expensive no matter what. So there is a reason why vehicles depreciate more than others sometimes, but also keep in mind there's a difference between being able to buy it and being able to afford it. You may be able to purchase the vehicle, but the running costs are not of a $30,000 vehicle. They are the running costs of a $140,000 vehicle. Plan for it, budget for it, do your research like Tim has, and you'll have a great ownership experience. And honestly, my drive and passenger ride along with this has been really, really cool. I will confidently say I like this more than your 300 SRT.
Really?
That thing was really unique too, but this suits me more. I like the charisma of this engine, genuinely impressed by the transmission, the way it's been driving and handling some of the turns. Love the way they look, right?
Yeah.
It just looks so good, sounds so good, checks a lot of the boxes for what I look for in an automotive experience, just in a sedan body. So I think it was a good buy.
So it's still one of those cars that you can buy at the bottom of the depreciation curve. That has potential to actually increase a little bit. I won't say a ton, it won't double its money. But Maserati's done making V8s, folks. Yeah. They're done. And this is kind of considered ultimate Quattroporte. It's 5th gen GTS.
And it's rare, right? You said under 2,000 total production.
Rare is kind of an understatement. And I hate to be the lawn chair Corvette guy and be like, here's the production numbers. But here's the thing. My SRT I thought was pretty rare.
Yeah.
They made 1,841 Quattroporte Sport GTSs for the world, regardless of spec, in a 4-year period.
Okay, that's very low production.
So around 15 to 20 of these cars transact a year in the United States. They're pretty rare. Yeah. And the ones that do sell, you got to do your PPI.
One, that's a unicorn there.
Yes,
absolutely.
These cars did not get taken care of, generally speaking. A lot of people who could buy these cars didn't drive them. Driver mileage for this is anything over 25,000 miles. And that is a crazy statement, but that is just, unfortunately, the reality.
37,000 miles of this one. It feels in pretty good condition. Looks like it, too. Sounds great. Looks great. Pretty awesome car.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed this quick review of the Maserati Quattroporte Sport GTS, a vehicle with a very long name, but one that has the charisma, the Italian emotion, excitement that'll put a smile on your face. Check out the ownership interview we did together. We get really in depth on why he bought the car and some of the different things. Thanks for watching.